Before we dive in, viewer discretion is advised. This content is for entertainment purposes.
A simple question turns uncomfortable, and within seconds, the mood on live TV completely shifts. What happens when Hollywood's most misunderstood woman sits across from daytime television's most unflinching moderator, and neither of them blinks? The studio lights are hot, the audience is restless, and in just minutes, a conversation meant to promote a movie spirals into something raw, personal, and impossible to ignore. Erupt. The applause comes first. Polite. Routine. The kind of clapping that happens every single day on this stage. Megan Fox walks out in a fitted black blazer, expression calm but eyes alert, like she already knows this won't be easy. She smiles, waves, takes her seat, crossing one leg over the other with deliberate control. Across from her, Whoopi Goldberg leans back slightly, hands folded, watching, not warmly, not coldly, just watching. The cameras settle. The view theme fades. And right away, there's a feeling in the room that something is off. Whoopi opens with a measured tone, welcoming Megan, praising her longevity, her reinvention, her resilience. Megan nods politely, lips pressed into a soft smile. She's heard this language before. Reinvention. Resilience. It's the polite way Hollywood acknowledges that it once tore you apart. Joy Behar jumps in with a quick joke about Megan breaking the internet years ago. The audience laughs. Megan laughs too, but it doesn't quite reach her eyes. Sunny Hostin leans forward, intrigued, already sensing there's more beneath the surface. Then Whoopi pivots. So Megan, she says, voice steady, almost casual, you've talked a lot recently about feeling misunderstood by the media. About being sexualized, boxed in. But some people watching might say, you leaned into that image. So how much of that was something done to you, and how much was something you chose? The question lands heavier than expected. There's a murmur in the audience. Megan's smile fades, not dramatically, but noticeably. She inhales, slow and controlled, eyes dropping for just a second before lifting again. This isn't the question she was promised. I think that's a really complicated way to frame it, Megan says carefully. Her voice is soft, but there's steel under it. Because when you're 19, 20 years old, and the industry rewards you for one version of yourself, you don't really have the power people think you do. Whoopi nods, but she doesn't retreat. But you did benefit from it, she says. That image made you famous. The temperature in the room shifts. Megan straightens in her chair. Fame isn't the same as respect, she replies. A few audience members clap instinctively, then stop when they realize the tension hasn't broken. It's tightening. Megan continues, more animated now. She talks about being on sets where she felt invisible as a person. About interviews where she was asked about her body instead of her work. About being labeled difficult the first time she pushed back. And when I tried to speak up, she says, eyes flicking briefly toward the audience, then back to Whoopi. I was told I should be grateful. That I was lucky. That other girls would kill for what I had. Whoopi raises an eyebrow. But Megan, she says, leaning in now, a lot of women have been sexualized in this business. They didn't all disappear the way you did. That's the moment. The exact second when Megan Fox stops playing defense. I didn't disappear, she says, voice sharper now. I was pushed out. The audience reacts audibly. A collective intake of breath. Sunny's eyes widen. Joy shifts in her seat. Pushed out how? Whoopi asks. Megan doesn't hesitate. By narratives like that, she says, gesturing gently but unmistakably toward Whoopi. The idea that if a woman is sexualized, she must have asked for it. That if she benefits at first, she's not allowed to complain when it becomes damaging. There's a pause. A long one. The kind producers hate and viewers love. Whoopi exhales slowly. I'm not saying you asked for it, she responds. I'm saying agency matters. And I'm saying context matters more, Megan fires back. Her voice trembles, not with fear, but with restrained emotion. When powerful people decide who you are before you've even figured it out yourself, your choices aren't really choices anymore. Applause breaks out, louder this time. Whoopi lets it happen, face unreadable. Inside, Megan feels it, the familiar mix of adrenaline and vulnerability. She didn't come here to fight. She came here to tell her story. But she's done shrinking it to make other people comfortable. The camera cuts to the audience, nodding heads, a few shocked expressions, one woman wiping her eyes. Whoopi finally speaks again, slower now. So what do you want people to understand today? Megan looks directly into the lens. That I'm not a cautionary tale, she says. I'm a person who survived an industry that profits from misunderstanding women and then punishes them for it. Silence. Heavy. Electric. And in that silence, everyone knows this conversation is no longer under control. The silence doesn't last long, but it leaves a mark. It's the kind that hangs in the air, thick and uncomfortable, forcing everyone in the room to confront what's just been said. Whoopi shifts slightly in her chair, not away from Megan, but deeper into the conversation. The cameras zoom in, catching every micro-expression, every flicker of tension. Joy Behar is the first to break it, attempting to lighten the mood with a half-smile. Well, she says, chuckling softly, daytime TV just got a little more honest. A few nervous laughs ripple through the audience, but they fade quickly. No one's fooled. This isn't a joke moment. This is a reckoning. Sunny Hostin leans forward, hands clasped. Megan, she says gently, when you talk about being pushed out, are you referring to specific people? Specific moments? Megan exhales, slow and deliberate. She tilts her head slightly, choosing her words with care, but there's a new firmness in her posture now. The guard is down, but the spine is straight. There were meetings, she begins. Closed doors. Conversations I was never meant to hear about myself. I was told I was too much, then somehow not enough at the same time. Too outspoken. Too quiet. Too sexy. Too cold. She gives a brief, humorless laugh. It's exhausting trying to solve a puzzle that keeps changing its shape. The audience murmurs in recognition. This isn't just Megan Fox talking anymore. This is something familiar. Whoopi watches her closely. There's no interruption this time. And when I finally said I didn't want to play along, Megan continues, when I didn't want to be silent or grateful or agreeable anymore, suddenly I was a problem. Suddenly, the roles dried up. The narrative shifted. What narrative? Whoopi asks, voice calm but probing. That I was difficult, Megan replies instantly. That I was unprofessional. That I thought too highly of myself. Joy frowns. Hollywood loves that word, she mutters. Megan nods. It's very convenient. The audience claps again, stronger now. Megan pauses, letting it wash over her, but her eyes flick briefly to Whoopi. There's something unspoken passing between them. Respect, challenge, friction. Whoopi finally leans forward, elbows resting on her knees. Let me ask you something directly, she says. Do you think the media owes you an apology? Megan blinks, caught off guard, not by the question, but by its bluntness. No, she says after a beat. I don't think the media owes me anything. I think it owes young women honesty. I think it owes them nuance. Because the way stories are told can shape how people see themselves. Sunny nods slowly. Especially young girls. Exactly, Megan says. Her voice softens for the first time. I get messages from women who say they hated me when they were younger. They believed what they were told about me. And then they grew up. And suddenly, they understood. There's a collective hush. Even the crew seems to hold still. Whoopi tilts her head. So you're saying time vindicated you? Megan meets her gaze. I'm saying experience did. That lands harder than anything else so far. Whoopi smiles faintly, not amused, but thoughtful. Experience has a way of humbling all of us, she says. And clarifying things, Megan adds, without missing a beat. For a moment, it almost feels like they are on the same side. Almost. But then Whoopi straightens, her tone shifting just slightly. Here's where I push back, she says. Because while I hear what you're saying, I also know women who fought those same battles and stayed. Who didn't step away. Megan's jaw tightens. Staying isn't strength, she says quietly. Sometimes leaving is. The audience reacts immediately, applause mixed with gasps. Whoopi raises a hand, signaling calm. I'm not saying it isn't, Whoopi replies. I'm saying that different choices don't make different truths. Megan nods once. Agreed. But the problem is, only one choice gets punished. The words hang heavy. Sunny's lips part slightly, as if she wants to jump in, but she hesitates. Joy looks between them, sensing the magnitude of what's unfolding. Whoopi studies Megan for a long second. Then she asks, do you think you were punished because you challenged power? Yes, Megan says, without hesitation. The audience audibly reacts, an ooh ripples through the room. Hollywood doesn't like women who speak before they are invited to, Megan continues. And it really doesn't like them when they are young and confident and unwilling to apologize for existing. Whoopi's expression hardens, not in anger, but in recognition. You're talking about the cost of speaking out, she says. I'm talking about the price women pay for being seen, Megan replies. Another wave of applause. This time, Whoopi doesn't stop it. The camera cuts to the audience again, faces intent, some nodding, some stunned. Social media feeds are already lighting up, though no one in the room can see it yet. Tweets forming. Clips being clipped. Whoopi finally leans back, crossing her arms loosely. You know, she says, people think this chair makes you untouchable. It doesn't. It just gives you a different kind of target. Megan's eyes soften. I believe that, she says. For the first time, there's no edge between them. Just understanding. But the tension isn't gone. It's evolved. Because now, the question isn't whether Megan Fox was misunderstood. It's whether the system that misunderstood her is finally being called out, live, on air, with nowhere to hide. The conversation doesn't slow down. If anything, it sharpens. The audience can feel it, the shift from explanation to confrontation, from personal story to something larger and more uncomfortable. This isn't just about Megan Fox anymore. It's about who gets to speak, who gets believed, and who decides when a woman has said enough. Whoopi adjusts her glasses, studying Megan with a look that blends curiosity and challenge. You talk about power like it's a monolith, she says. But power changes. Faces change. Generations change. Do you think the industry is different now? Megan lets out a small, almost ironic laugh. Different. Yes. Safer. Not always. The audience murmurs again. There's better language now, Megan continues. Better PR. More statements. More panels like this. She gestures lightly around the table. But the consequences for women who don't fit neatly into a story haven't disappeared. They've just gotten quieter. Sunny nods vigorously. That's true, she says. Backlash today looks very different than it did 10 or 20 years ago. And it's faster, Megan adds. It lives online forever. Whoopi leans forward. But you also live in that space now. You choose what you share. You've reclaimed your narrative in a lot of ways. Megan's eyes flicker, appreciation mixed with frustration. I reclaimed it because I had to, not because the door was opened for me. Joy interjects softly. That's an important distinction. Megan turns to her. When you're pushed out long enough, you either disappear completely, or you come back louder. The audience applauds, some cheering now. Megan takes a breath, grounding herself. Inside, there's a familiar flutter in her chest, the old fear of being labeled again, misquoted again. But it's quieter than it used to be. Experience has dulled its teeth. Whoopi studies her. Do you worry, she asks, that speaking this honestly now could cost you again? Megan doesn't answer right away. She looks out toward the audience, then back to the table, then finally at Whoopi. It already has, she says. The room goes still. There are projects I wasn't considered for, Megan continues. Rooms I was never invited into. Because honesty makes people nervous. Especially when it comes from someone they've already decided they understand. Sunny's voice is gentle. That sounds isolating. It is, Megan admits. But it's also freeing. Because once you realize approval is conditional, you stop chasing it. The audience breaks into applause again, louder than before. Whoopi nods slowly, absorbing that. But let me ask you this, Whoopi says, her tone firm but not unkind. Do you think accountability exists without discomfort? Megan meets her gaze. No, she says. But I think discomfort gets unfairly assigned. The discomfort of powerful people is treated like harm. The discomfort of women is treated like collateral. That earns a sharp reaction, gasps, claps, murmurs all at once. Joy leans back, eyebrows raised. She's not wrong. Whoopi lets out a small laugh, but it's edged with seriousness. You came ready, she says. Megan allows herself a brief smile. I came honest. Whoopi straightens. Here's where I want to be careful, she says. Because when conversations like this happen, people at home sometimes hear, the system is broken, so nothing matters. And I don't believe that. Neither do I, Megan responds quickly. I believe systems change when people are forced to look at what they've normalized. The audience applauds again, rhythmically now, almost like punctuation. Sunny leans in. Do you think moments like this, live, unfiltered, actually move the needle? Megan glances around the table. I think they scare people. And fear is often the first step before change. Whoopi tilts her head. Fear can also make people defensive. True, Megan says. But silence never made anyone braver. That line hits hard. The audience reacts instantly, clapping and cheering. Whoopi raises a hand, half smiling, half surrendering to the energy in the room. You're challenging a lot of assumptions today, Whoopi says. That's the point, Megan replies. The two women lock eyes, not as adversaries now, but as equals standing on opposite edges of the same uncomfortable truth. Whoopi exhales. You know, she says, when you sit in this chair long enough, you realize the world loves to build women up just to see how they fall. Megan nods, and then asks them why they didn't fly. A wave of applause crashes through the studio. Some audience members are on their feet now. The camera pans across faces, moved, conflicted, energized. Behind the scenes, producers are already aware this segment is running hot. Too hot. But no one dares cut it short. Because this isn't chaos. This is clarity. And as Whoopi looks back at Megan, there's a new question forming, not just about Megan Fox, but about herself, about the chair she sits in, about the role she plays in shaping narratives rather than just moderating them. The clash isn't explosive anymore. It's surgical. And it's not done yet. The energy in the studio has shifted into something sharper, more focused. This is no longer a debate circling around ideas. It's a moment of reflection happening in real time, under lights that don't forgive hesitation. The audience senses it. You can hear it in the way the room breathes together, waiting. Whoopi breaks the quiet first, her voice lower now. You know, she says, I've been doing this a long time. I've watched women come through these doors at different stages of their lives. Some angry, some scared, some certain. And the hardest thing isn't disagreeing with them. It's realizing when you've been part of the system they're talking about. That lands unexpectedly. Megan's expression shifts, not triumphant, not softened, just attentive. That takes honesty, Megan says. And I don't think people give you enough credit for how hard that is on live television. A ripple moves through the audience. Whoopi smiles briefly, then shakes her head. Credit isn't the goal. Responsibility is. Joy lets out a quiet nodding. Whoopi turns fully toward Megan now. Let me be real with you, she says. When you first came up, I bought into some of what was said about you. I thought, she's young, she's beautiful, she's leaning into it. I didn't ask enough questions. The audience gasps softly. This is not something they expected to hear. Megan doesn't interrupt. She doesn't rush to forgive or accuse. She simply listens. And that's on me, Whoopi continues. Because assuming is easy. Listening is work. Megan swallows, emotion flickering across her face for just a second. I appreciate you saying that, she says quietly. Not for me, but for the women watching who don't get that acknowledgement. Sunny nods. That's huge, she says. But here's the uncomfortable part, Whoopi adds. Acknowledgement doesn't erase impact. Megan nods. I know. The audience is silent now, fully locked in. There were moments, Megan continues, voice steady but softer than before, where I internalized what was being said about me. I wondered if maybe I was the problem. If maybe I deserved the way I was treated. Her voice wavers slightly. The room leans in. And that's the part people don't see, she says. The private conversations. The self-doubt. The shame. You start shrinking yourself to survive. Joy's face tightens. That's heartbreaking. Whoopi watches Megan closely. And what stopped you from disappearing completely? Megan exhales. My kids, she says without hesitation. The thought of them growing up and believing the same things about women that I was taught to accept. A murmur runs through the audience. Some clap softly. I didn't want them to learn silence from me, Megan continues. So I had to unlearn it myself. Whoopi nods slowly. That's powerful. The conversation pauses, heavy but grounded. Then Whoopi shifts again, subtly steering into deeper waters. Do you think, she asks, that public accountability, moments like this, can actually heal anything? Or does it just reopen wounds? Megan considers the question carefully. I think healing isn't clean, she says. It's not a statement or an apology or a viral clip. It's repetition. It's choosing to do better even when no one's watching. Sunny leans in. So what does doing better look like to you? It looks like letting women evolve, Megan replies. Letting them contradict themselves. Letting them be messy without punishment. Whoopi smiles faintly. You're asking for grace. I'm asking for humanity, Megan corrects. The audience erupts in applause again, louder, sustained. Whoopi lets it go on longer this time, her expression thoughtful, almost humbled. When it finally quiets, she looks back at Megan. "You know," she says, "this chair gives me a platform. But it also gives me blind spots. And conversations like this, they matter because they expose them." Megan meets her gaze. "That's all I ever wanted," she says. "To be seen clearly. Even when it's uncomfortable." The two women sit in that moment, no longer circling each other, no longer sparring. Something has shifted again. Not resolution. Recognition. Joy breaks the tension with a soft laugh. "Well," she says, "I think the internet's going to have a field day with this." The audience laughs, grateful for the release. Whoopi chuckles too, then looks back at Megan. They always do. But Megan doesn't laugh right away. She looks out toward the audience, toward the cameras, toward the unseen millions watching at home. "Let them," she says. "If even one person feels less alone after this, it's worth it." Applause fills the studio, some people standing now, clapping with intention rather than excitement. Whoopi nods once, decisively. "That," she says, "is a conversation worth having." The segment is nearing its end. The producers are counting down silently. But the impact has already been made. Because this wasn't a clash for spectacle. It was a collision between past assumptions and present truth. And neither side walked away unchanged. The applause doesn't fade when the cameras pull back. It swells, rolling through the studio in waves, some people standing now, others clapping slowly as if they are trying to process what they just witnessed. Megan Fox sits quietly, hands folded in her lap, eyes glossy but steady. Across from her, Whoopi Goldberg nods once, not to the audience, not to the camera, but to Megan. When the segment officially wraps, the energy doesn't snap back to normal. It lingers. Even as the show moves on, even as producers whisper cues and stagehands adjust lights, something has shifted in the room. This wasn't a viral spat. It wasn't a neat resolution. It was something messier, and far more unsettling. Backstage, staff members exchange looks. A few whisper, "That was real." Someone mutters that social media is already exploding. Clips are being cut in real time. Quotes pulled out of context, others shared in full. Staying isn't strength. Sometimes leaving is. Silence never made anyone braver. Those lines are already racing across timelines. By the time Megan steps off the stage, her phone is buzzing non-stop. Messages from women she hasn't spoken to in years. From actresses who never said anything publicly. From younger girls thanking her for saying what they are still afraid to put into words. There are critics too. There always are. But they feel quieter somehow, drowned out by something louder and more urgent. In the studio, Whoopi remains seated for a moment after the cameras cut. Joy leans over, saying something softly. Sunny nods, thoughtful. Whoopi stares out at the empty chairs in the audience, jaw set, reflective. She's hosted thousands of conversations in this space. Heated ones. Emotional ones. But this felt different. This one didn't end with a punchline or a tidy takeaway. It ended with a mirror. Later that day, headlines don't agree on what happened. Some call it a tense clash. Others label it a powerful reckoning. A few try to frame it as Megan Fox pushing back against Whoopi Goldberg. But the clips that travel farthest don't feel like a fight. They feel like recognition. One video shows Megan speaking about being pushed out, her voice calm but unyielding. Another captures Whoopi admitting she bought into narratives without questioning them. Comment sections fill up fast. Women share their own stories, workplaces, relationships, moments where they were told to be grateful instead of respected. This hit too close to home. I wasn't a Megan Fox fan before. I get it now. Why did this make me cry at work? Even people who don't agree with everything Megan said admit the same thing. She didn't flinch. She didn't shrink. She didn't apologize for taking up space. By nightfall, the conversation has moved beyond daytime TV. Entertainment blogs dissect the exchange frame by frame. Podcasts debate whether Hollywood has actually changed or just learned better language. And somewhere between the noise, a quieter truth settles in. This wasn't about winning an argument. It was about telling the truth out loud in a place that rarely slows down enough to hear it. Megan posts nothing that night. No statement. No clarification. Just a single black and white photo from years ago. Her younger self, unsmiling, eyes guarded. The caption is simple, still here. Whoopi, for her part, opens the next day's show by acknowledging the conversation again. Not defensively, not performatively, but honestly. She talks about listening, about growth, about how discomfort isn't the enemy, avoidance is. And viewers notice. Because they felt it too. They felt what happens when a narrative cracks. When assumptions are challenged live, without a script to retreat behind. When two women from different generations stop talking past each other and actually meet in the middle of the tension. This wasn't a moment designed to go viral. It went viral because it was real. Now it's your turn. What did you hear in that conversation? Did Megan Fox say what needed to be said? Or did it hit differently for you? Was this a clash, a reckoning, or something else entirely? Drop your